On November 1st, Onyx protocol fell victim to an exploit which resulted in $2 million worth of tokens being lost. But before diving into analysis of what happened, I'm Delirious. I'm software dev and independent security researcher. I do solo security reviews and team security reviews and do basically everything to make this Web3 space the most secure that it can be. Okay, so let's dive in. One vulnerability to screw them all, because while Onyx hack resulted in 2 million loss, the same vulnerability across compound forks totals $10 million. But first, let's quickly go through how the compound V2 really works. Okay, so the high-level design of the system is comptroller, which is the heart of whole system. It holds information about the user liquidity, amount of borrows, amount of money they have in the system. It holds all the indexes required to calculate interest rate for users, and is the core part of whole protocol. Apart from controller, you have different market. And what market is a separate contract, which is itself ERC20, which has one-to-one connection with underlying token. For example, if you have DAI market, which underlying token is DAI, and you can do everything you want, but only for DAI. And if you are putting DAI into the system, you are providing collateral, you are getting back the C DAI. And because of exchange rate, amount of C DAI to DAI constantly increases. That means that the same amount of C DAI after some time will be worth more DAI. And there are multiple markets. You may have like ETH, you may have wrapped Bitcoin, you may have whatever you like, and actually compounds only lists few of the tokens. However, the forks are free to do whatever they want. And this actually is an issue, but we'll get to that later. One important thing that you have to know is that in Compound V2, even though the markets are separate tokens, the liquidity is shared across them. If any of the single markets goes down, the whole protocol has problem. That because all the markets are connected between each other. So each time that you are putting the money, comptroller calculates how much collateral you have in total. The same as if you are borrowing. So for example, you can provide like 100 DAI, like 100 USDC, $100 worth of Ethereum, $100 worth of ETH, and collectively your collateral will be like $300. But that also means that if one collateral goes down or is manipulated, it impacts whole pool. So how does the Compound V2 knows what is the price? Of course, it uses Price Oracle, and Oracle feed has to be updated every time that you are doing any action. Okay, and going into V2 mechanics is like you can see here that C token, that you have an exchange rate between C token and underlying tokens, for example, C DAI and DAI, and as market's total borrowing balances increases, the exchange rate between C token and underlying asset increases. So let's go inside Compound V2 docs and see here. So for example, you supply 1,000 DAI to the compound with this exchange rate, and you get back like 49 C DAI. After some time, the global exchange rate is increased. So that means that your 49 C DAI is now worth 1,075 DAI. So that means that you are getting an extra 75 DAI. Apart from that, you have global interest rate index, which is multiplied by previous index times 1 plus rate times time plus rate multiplied by time passed since last index update. The same goes for total borrow balance and the reserves. Now, having that described, let's go through the hack. So the attack steps here was first creating and funding a new borrower contract, of course, using Flash Loan. Secondly, minting collateral tokens in an empty market and redeem most of minted tokens. So this is actually very important. In order for this kind of attack to work, you need to have an empty market or be able to empty it before the attack, because it only works on rounding of very small values that you have total control of. And the worst part is that this is well-known issue with Compound, and Compound itself does not have this issue because of the governance that disallows to creating the empty pools. However, not all of the Compound forks have the same security measures, and actually Midas Capital and 100 Finance fell victim to the same attack before, so this is well known. So shame on the team and shame on the auditing company that they did not catch it. Okay, going back, the third step is to donate redeemed asset token to inflate the exchange rate. So that means you're redeeming your tokens, leaving only two-way in the contract, and the rest money that you redeemed, you are transferring directly to the contract because it uses ERC20 balance off to check for exchange rate. Then you can borrow different asset with manipulated exchange rate. Then you're redeeming your collateral to recover your donation. And due to the rounding issue, you are actually from the two-way that left, you should have two taken out, but only one is taken out. So you are here getting way more than you should. And in the last step, you are liquidating what's left. Actually, you should not be able to redeem the amount of collateral that you wanted in the first step because your health factor drops below 1, which means that you're under collateralized and you should be liquidated. That means that you should not be able to perform this action. However, due to rounding, the system thinks that you are still good because one share still is left in the contract. You are liquidating yourself and getting the money. That means that after attack, you are leaving the pool empty in the initial position. However, because all the pools are connected and you were able to steal from other markets, you are getting additional money. So the root cause is in redeem fresh, in calculating of exchange rate. If we go to redeem fresh and we're looking at exchange rate, we're using get cash prior. In case of ERC20 tokens, you are checking the ERC20 balance off. Remember that at this point, the attacker directly transferred money to the contract. That means that cash prior is way higher than it should be. And that means that the total cash is super huge and total supply of the token is, remember, 2. So that means that we inflated exchange rate multiple times. And because attacker uses redeem amount in, it's getting the amount in divided by exchange rate. Exchange rate is absurdly high. That means that, for example, if you have some value that results in 1, remember that only 2 way of tokens are here. So an exchange rate is really huge. And that means that even if you pass super high amount and you are able to keep it under 2, like 1.99, the protocol will give you the amount you want and will redeem only half of the tokens that it should. And of course, later it will like transfer out what you should. Maybe you're wondering why Compound is not checking for that in redeem verify. So if you see in controller what it checks, it just checks if you are not having 0 tokens on redeem. So now I will use DeFi Hack Labs repo, which contains this exact hack, and we'll go through the attack and we'll run it and see how it goes. Okay, so we are inside the Onyx protocol exploit test file. As you can see, we have like multiple tokens here. Here the exploit function starts. Okay, so we have a callback execute operation, and this is Ether, so we will not go deep into it because the logic is slightly different, but we'll go through these tokens because they all are the same. So in this, there is the common function of exploit token. So now the exploit considers USDC. And one important thing to note here, Compound uses C tokens and Onyx uses O token. This is totally the same, but this is just thing to note that naming changes. However, those are the same contracts. The same goes for comptroller. Compound uses name comptroller, and Onyx uses unitroller. Actually, Compound has also unitroller, which is a proxy for comptroller, but this is not very important in this story. Exploiting token. First, you are transferring it to your immediate token, then you are starting to exploit. Again, as I said, you are minting some OPP tokens, you are redeeming all but 2 of them, then you are directly transferring ERC20 to the OPP contract, and you are entering markets. Entering markets is actually required if you want to borrow anything. You can only borrow from the markets you entered, because Compound uses for loop to go through all the tokens you're in to calculate how much money you have in each of the markets. Then you are using it to borrow everything but one. Then you are able to transfer all the ERC20 to yourself. This is actually interesting because here the attacker uses redeem underlying, which actually triggers the whole attack, because redeem underlying is calculating how much of C tokens get from you to get the specific amount. And as you can see, the redeem amount is bounce of -1. So that actually rounds down to 1.999999. That means that here in this step, due to the rounding issue, you are redeeming almost all of the amount, all but one, and still you are only getting one of the OPP tokens, and you should actually be accounted for 2 of the tokens. And then finally, after this function, you are liquidating your borrow and redeeming the tokens, and that's basically it for 1 token. And then goes another token. So you're doing the same thing over and over again to drain all the pools, in this case $2 million. So now let's run this exploit and see how it works. And we have it. So before attack, he doesn't have any wealth on him, and after the exploit, he has around 2 million worth of ether. So what can be done to prevent this attack? First of all, like the attack, the empty pool attack on Compound is well known around April this year. 100 Finance was struck by it, and even then at 100 Finance, people already knew about this attack. And actually what you see on your screen now is preventive measure that was proposed by the Hexagate at the time of 100 Finance attack. So according to Hexagate, what you should do is set collateral factor to 0, mint C tokens and burn them by sending them to 0 address, and then update the collateral factor. Guys, if you are creating a fork of some protocol, first be very wary of the issues it had and how to prevent them. And what do you think about this attack? I'd like to hear your opinion, and see you later.